So I stumbled across a tweet where this person said, I don't know why people act like trans women can't get menstrual cramps when cis women get menstrual cramps even post hysterectomy. So that's the price we pay for these awesome hormones that we take, right? So I want to get into this, right? Because y'all brought me up. Cis women, I'm here. Granted, I have not gotten a hysterectomy, but say my name 3 times in the mirror and bitch, I'm going to pop up. Let me go ahead and play the intro. Something that I said in the video, this had to be like a year or two ago. I don't remember what video it was, so I can't like link it at the top, right? But I said, if a trans person really wants to pretend that they are the same as a cis person, they are going to be miserable for their entire life. That is the reality, right? This is the thing. Whenever I see y'all trying to make these comparisons, I think about that. I think about that because you trying too hard to be cis, okay? You are a transgender person. You have different bodily, processes than a cisgender person. You have unique things going on. There are things about you that I cannot relate to. There are things about me that you cannot relate to, right? So when you sit here and you really, really pretend and you really push and you really, really try your hardest to pretend that you are the same as a cis person, in this case, specifically a cis woman, because this is a trans woman making this comparison to cis woman, right? You're going to be miserable your entire life. This is the reality, okay? First of all, menstrual cramps, okay? Menstrual cramps are your uterus actually like contracting, right? So it's like baby labor, not baby labor. That was worded confusingly because baby labor is all labor. But what I meant is like labor junior, right? So like your uterus contracts in labor to push the baby out. But during your period, your uterus actually contracts. And I'm assuming, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming it's to push the lining of the uterus out, I guess. I don't know, right? But the point is this, right? Your uterus does actually contract during your period, right? So that brings us to our first question. How does an individual with no uterus have menstrual cramps? There is no uterus to contract. Now, this person made the point, right? This person said, well, cisgender women who've gotten a hysterectomy still have period cramps. So clearly it's not the uterus. It must be the cramps, right? Well, let's talk about something to actually make this make sense, right? Because one thing I love is to not be delusional, right? There are people who get limbs amputated, right? Say somebody got like their arm amputated or something, right? And they report on this phenomenon of like the phantom limb. Like they still feel like their arm is there, right? Like they can, I guess the word is proprioception. Like they can feel it in space, right? But then they look and their arm is not there anymore, right? The arm was there initially and the body still thinks it's there. So it feels like it's there, but it's not, right? And that is what is happening. If this happens with, a woman who's gotten a hysterectomy, the uterus is not there anymore, but the body probably still thinks it's there and feels like it's there, even though it's not, right? I guess a phantom uterus thing. Now, how would you, an individual who has never had a uterus, have phantom uterine cramps? Please make the math for me. Now, me personally, and I'm just speaking for me, all right, because this is not true of all people by any means. Me personally, I don't really care about trans people being trans. I feel like you got one life to live, so your best bet is to live it in a way that makes you happy, right? Whatever that may be. That may be you going to school for whatever. That may be you identifying as transgender and socially transitioning. That may be you, whatever, right? Again, as far as I'm concerned, we got one life, so you might as well try to be happy during it, right? So me personally, I don't really care about people transitioning or being transgender or whatever. I really don't give a fuck about that, right? But I will say that sometimes you all overstep some boundaries and that I need to get you bitches together. Don't worry about that though. Like, don't worry about that. I'm always happy to get a hoe corrected, right? But my point is this in all seriousness though, right? I see this a lot with transgender women and women's experiences, right? Transgender women insist that they experience all of women's experiences, right? We have a trans woman here saying, yeah, I get menstrual cramps, right? never had a menstrual cramp in your life. You don't even know what a menstrual cramp feels like. I can't even describe it to you. Like, it's not the same as feeling, like sometimes your stomach hurt when you got a boo-boo or something. It's a different sort of feeling. I can't describe it to you. You can't describe it to me either, nigga, because you ain't never had one, right? But my point is this though, right? I see trans women all the time insist that they feel and operate the exact same as a woman, and they understand everything we going through. They get period cramps and this, that, so on, so on, so, right? But I never, ever, ever see trans men do this with men, right? I never see trans men talking about, yeah, I feel my prostate, so and so and so. I've never, ever, ever heard that. I've never seen trans men like, yeah, well, men who get their prostate removed. Do men get their prostate removed? I guess if you got prostate cancer or something. I don't know. Y'all get my point, though. I've never seen trans men saying, yeah, like, yeah, I feel this, that, and cis men, A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. So that's how I know I feel like I got a prostate. Bitch, you don't have a prostate. What the fuck are we talking about? But again, they don't even do that. They don't even play like that, right? So let's get to the deeper question. Why do trans women play all day in a way that trans men don't? Let's really get to the bottom of it. This is the reality, right? Because y'all know one thing about me. We must stand in reality on my channel. I can't stand delusional people who just be like, oh, like, there is no one boss thing to say. That gets on my nerves, okay? This is the reality. A person is born and socialized as whatever, and then they grow up to perhaps identify as something else, right? So in the case of a transgender woman, that person is born and socialized as a boy, then at some point says, actually, I feel like a woman, okay? In the case of transgender men, that person is born and socialized as a girl, and then at some point says, actually, I feel like a man. Okay, now this is my thing, right? What happens when you are socialized as a boy versus socialized as a girl? What happens, right? What are the things that society teaches boys versus the things that society teaches girls, right? Let's think about it for a second. And I'm kind of smiling because something that I experience all the time. So growing up, I was a competitive chess player. Now, let me be clear. I have not played chess in so fucking long. Like, y'all, like, whenever I say I used to be a competitive chess player, y'all be like, let's play. Bitch, you'll probably beat me. I literally have not played chess in I was about to say 10 years, but actually it's been more than that because like I stopped really competing in chess like my either junior or senior year of high school, right? But my point is this, right? At one point I was very good at chess. Like in elementary, I placed like 3rd place in the state in my section. I don't know what section I was playing in though. That was a long time ago, right? But my point is this, right? Even when I was in my prime, like whooping hoes, right? Random dudes would be like, I bet I can beat you in chess, right? And then we sit down to play and they try to like scholars make me or something. And I'm like, bitch, you can't even actually play chess. Like, what? That's the thing, right? As a woman, you can be a professional at some shit. But I promise you, a man who does not know shit about it is still going to insist that he is better than you at it just because he's a man. I kid you the fuck not. I have said before, I wish I had the confidence of an ill-prepared man. Because I swear to you, a man might not know how to tie his shoes. He don't know left from right. He don't know shit. But he will still insist that he is the smartest person in the room as long as he is in a room full of women. Because that is what men are taught. They are taught that they are smarter than women. They are better than us. They are this. They are that. So even when I was literally a fucking like state champion damn near in chess, right? Random men would still be like, yeah, I can beat you in chess. And they couldn't even fucking cast. Like, you don't even fucking know how to play chess, right? But that brings me to my point. Right? Boys and girls, men and women, we are socialized in different ways, right? And you really see that socialization really like pop out in the case of trans people, right? Because with trans women, you have somebody who is socialized as a boy, but who now identifies as a woman. And with trans men, you have somebody who was socialized as a girl, but now identifies as a man, right? And then again, that socialization just pops out and it's just in your face because it's so obvious when you see it on somebody who now identifies as the opposite gender, right? So trans women believe the same way men do because they were socialized the same, right? No matter what, They are better than women. They are smarter than us. They know more than us, etc., etc., etc. So you got a dick and balls, but you telling me that you're the exact same as me. You somehow your balls cramping up. Like, hey, like what? They your menstrual cramp. Like, we like chill later. Me, I'm not going to be having, right? But my point is this though, you don't see that with trans men. You never see trans men playing around like that. Trans men don't even pretend like that. You look, if you talk to a trans man, they will tell you straight up, I'm not the same as a cis man. Like, in fact, I don't even really feel comfortable in spaces around cis men. We're not the same, right? But you talk to a trans woman, I'm the exact same as a cis woman. Shut your ass up. This is my space, bitch. Like quite literally, you see the socialization of the sexes just straight up in your fucking face, because again, it's just so blaringly obvious when somebody was socialized opposite from what they identify as. As women, right, society socializes us to believe that men are smarter than us, they're better than us, they're so and so and so, and it socializes men the same way. It socializes men with all of that, then it also socializes men to look down on women and this, that, and so and so and so. And that's why it's so fucking interesting when a trans woman grows up to identify as a woman, right? And it's like they still have the mentality of that male socialization, right? And you can see it so clearly in every interaction that they have with women. It's so fucking obvious. And like I said, look at trans men socialize with cis men in any capacity. It's a completely different fucking game. It's a completely different fucking game because trans men were socialized as girls and as women. They're not taught to go into the room and be like, nigga, shut up, I'm top dog, I'm alpha. You know what I'm saying? But that's how men and trans women are socialized. So you see it in the interactions that trans women have with women, right? And you don't ever see it with trans men. Like I said, you will never see a trans man sitting there trying to really pretend that they are the exact same as a cis man. You never fucking see that. Whether it's about like their bodily functions, whether it's about just how they think, how they feel, how they socialize, you never fucking see that shit. But you always see it with trans women and women. And that goes back to the socialization of the sexes. Something that I've said previously is that the things that we are socialized with as children stay with us for the rest of our lives. You may spend years unpacking some shit. You really may, right? But I swear in the back of your mind is always that little voice, that conditioning that you received as a child, right? That's why it's so interesting to see the interactions of trans women and women, because trans women still have that male socialization. They still literally act like men. They still commandeer women, talk over us, just take over every space. And it's just so fucking obvious. And it's like, you are so unaware. Have you ever like looked in the mirror and saw how you acted? Like, what the hell? As I stated, you got one life to live. So live it however the hell is going to make you happy, right? If you want to, look more a certain way, act more a certain way, then do that. Like, again, like, as far as I'm concerned, you only got one shot at this, right? But you are going to spend your entire life miserable if you really sitting around acting like you the exact same as somebody who was born as what you are attempting to transition into. Because, well, maybe one day science will be to that point where we actually will be the same, right? Like where the technological advances have advanced to the point where, yeah, you damn near you are the same, right? But right now that is not the case. Right now your ass is not getting menstrual cramps. That just is not fucking happening, right? And instead of coming to terms with that and acknowledging that you're different and saying, I'm not a woman, I'm a trans woman, so there are going to be some differences and I'm okay with that. This is who I am, this is, how my life is lived, right? Instead of coming to terms with that and being happy with who you actually are, bitch, you're going to be miserable for fucking ever because you got a whole dick and balls trying to convince somebody that you have a menstrual cramps, which you don't fucking have. And of course you're going to be miserable because you don't fucking have that. You're not the same as a woman. That's fucking okay, bitch. Be who you are, embrace who you are, and be happy with that. Like, what?